Hi, I'm Jonathan Forstall, born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana, and this is my story.
Gotcha. So tell everyone exactly where you're from. I mean, in the Big Easy.
Sure, born and raised here in New Orleans. Grew up in Lakeview. Dad's lived in Lake Terrace his entire life. Still hasn't moved to this day. And so my roots are in Lakeview, Lake Terrace specifically, and now I'm living in Lakeview.
Gotcha. So growing up as one son of a lawyer that's also very known by his by his like commercials and everything like that. But how was life for you growing up?
Yeah, so being the son of a prominent TV attorney definitely comes with its pros and cons, its perks and its minuses. But I think one thing that stands out is obviously your friends. At school, they oh, I see your dad on TV and all that kind of stuff. So that it sometimes it was you got picked on because all that whatever. But at a certain point, I realized that my dad was just successful, and he was so that kind of set me up for gave me a really good example to live by. But just being a part of the New Orleans culture around, because my father's he's been all around the community and is really in the trenches in the community, and being around him as I'm growing up and as he's building his practice really set me up for success. Knew what excellence looks like.
Gotcha. So, and before I ask you, I mean, what school you went to and all that, like, when can you see that you knew you was going to become one like lawyer behind your
Great
father?
question. Great question. Great question. So I knew pretty early on, right? So my dad, I will say, he was like, "You should come work for me because I built this practice." And of course, I'm seeing him on the commercials. All my friends like, "Got your dad on TV," and so I'm thinking, okay, I can literally walk into this business, and take over and make it something better. But what was the question?
It was like, but like what age or like what
Oh, what
year did you
age? Yeah,
really-
yeah, what age? So, I mean, very, very early on, I knew I wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to, fill my dad's shoes. I wanted to go that route. But it wasn't honestly, until law school that I knew that I was doing it for me, right? I was doing it because I wanted to do it. When I was a kid, I was doing it. I wanted to become an attorney, but I think it was because I wanted to please my dad, right? And I wanted to make him happy, and I wanted to take over the family business, right? But it wasn't until I really got into law school, started studying the law, and then getting into the business that I really love it for what it is, not just because pops wanted me to do it. So early on, I knew I wanted to do it, and it really solidified when I went to law school.
Gotcha. So, like, what high school did you go to?
Went to Brother Martin High School.
And so did you play
Crusaders,
the
baby.
sports?
I did. I played football in eighth and ninth grade, and then I tried out for rugby. And something about the rugby crew, I just clicked, and that's when I fell in love with the sport. And that was my sport growing up through high school and college. And Brother Martin was great. Made a lot of lifelong friends there. Still best friends with one of my buddies from there. But rugby was a good connector. I met a lot of good people, a lot of just learned a lot from that. And everybody says, well, rugby's is a tough sport, and it's tough, but it taught me a lot. So,
Nice. So, after graduating, did you go like straight into? Did you go straight into I'm sorry, I couldn't get out to law school? Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, a lot of people. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people from undergrad into law school, they take a year off. I know myself, and I said, okay, I know if I take a year off, there is a chance that I might not go back. I might get a taste of something else and get distracted or deviate my plan. And I knew I would do that. So I said, I'm not taking any time off. I went straight. I graduated in May of 2014, and I came straight home, went straight to law school, and never looked back, and I killed it in law school. So it was, I took no time off.
And so how was every that experience like just
At law school?
Yeah.
It was, man, work hard, play harder. It was, I tell you, I went to undergrad in San Diego, and we had a lot of fun out there, but honestly felt like I studied harder in law school, obviously, but I also partied harder. There was a really good class of people that just wanted to work, people that wanted to learn, people that wanted to be good lawyers, and not just get good grades, but wanted to be good lawyers. And at the end of the day, when we all were done studying, we all went to the bar and we had even more fun. So that experience was eye opening, because it was around that time too that I got to really realize this is what this is about. This is what I'm stepping into, and I know I'm gonna like it. And that's when it came to me that I knew that I was on the right path. That following my dad's footsteps was the right decision, and it's only been true ever since.
All right.
So,
So my question is, what made you go out of state to college, and I'm actually not go
great
down
question.
here?
Great question. So I picked San Diego. I went to a little college in Mobile for a year, and I did not like it. Did not like the people. So I kind of had an epiphany and realized I wanted to change schools. And so I talked to my dad, and he said, "You know what, son? You need to grow up." I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." He said, "You need to get out of the state." I was like, "Why? Why do I need to leave the state?" He says, "You need to grow up and you need to be away from home. You need to be in a place that you can't come home every weekend." When I was in Mobile, I was coming home every other weekend, getting my laundry done. And, I wasn't really separating myself from home. And so dad said, "You need to get out of here." And for some reason, I picked the California life. I wanted to see what San Diego was all about. I visited there. And if you've never been there, it's always 72 degrees, sunshine, no humidity. It's like perfect weather every single day. And I'm I'm an outdoors person. I like doing hiking, anything outdoors I'm game for. So I said, let's just do San Diego. So, and then landed my feet over there. Went to a really good college out there, University of San Diego. Spent 4 years out there. And as soon as I graduated, I came home, I think, the next day.
Yeah, I was going to ask that next.
The next day. And I actually took a road trip. So I had my best friend from Brother Martin fly out to San Diego. And we drove, I think it was 12 or 14 days back from San Diego to New Orleans. And we stopped at Vegas, Grand Canyon, Colorado. We did some whitewater rafting, and that was our kind of experience back from San Diego to New Orleans. That move, but San Diego itself was incredible. I will say I was ready to come home after 4 years, and everyone says, "What, you wanted to come home from California?" I said, "Man, there's no place like New Orleans." And it's not just the food or the music or anything. That's great, and that makes us who we are, but it really is the people. I say it in my commercials, and we say it in our TikToks and all that kind of stuff, but it really is true. And when I was in San Diego, I got a real good taste of that. New Orleans is full of people that have heritage here, have culture, have family, have ties. Everyone knows someone that knows your aunt, that knows, everyone's somehow connected. When I was in San Diego, I felt the opposite of that everyone in San Diego was from not San Diego, and no one really knew each other. It was basically just, and so it was a culture shock when I went out there, because I've been in New Orleans my whole life. I've seen the New Orleans culture, New Orleans people. I go out there, it is completely different. When you're walking down the street and you make eye contact, "Hey, how you doing?" Right? They don't do that over there. And if you do that, they're like, "Do I know you?"
It'll go get you weird.
Right. Look at you weird. And I'm thinking to myself,
but they actually do that everywhere besides New Orleans.
That's what I'm saying.
You go to
right?
New York or something, they go look at you like, "What's wrong with you?"
Right. especially up there.
They mean.
Yeah, exactly. But San Diego, I got a pretty good taste of that pretty fast. Like, right in the first 2 or 3 months, I'm like, this is not the same. And so when I graduated, I was ready to come home. I was ready to get back to the humid heat and my awesome New Orleanian people.
So how long it actually took for you to, and for your dad to say, "You know what? Hey, but here's your office, son."
Oh Lord, we still working on that. And when you're talking about a business that has second generation, it's not a one day, okay, in January 1st in 2027, here are the keys, right? It's a very slow and gradual process. And so, I started the takeover process, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago. but it was just very small, right? So I took over one little part of the business. And then a couple months later, I took over another little part of the business and another little part of the business. And eventually, 3, 4 years down the road, I'm handling 99% of the daily operations, and no one really saw a transition, right? Because it was so slow, gradual, and it was intentional. It was planned out. And so now we're coming to the end part of that. And is Chip going anywhere? No. He's here for, I hope he stays here until the day he dies, because this is where he belongs, right? But the day-to-day operations, that's where I'm now basically running that part of it. But so that part of that transition is slow, it's gradual, and it's still taking place, right? Chip's still a big man, and I respect that. And he's made a huge name for himself. So I got some pretty big shoes to fill. But that transition, it takes time, and when you slow it down and when you're more intentional and slow with it, it actually sticks with the people a little more. Which sometimes in my position, the second generation is hard, right? To get the people that have been here with Chip to buy into my vision, to buy into what I want to do and the way I want to run the business. And because we did it the way we did it, I'm feeling that buy-in. I'm feeling that the employees follow my lead and follow my leadership. So it's working.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So bring me to the Jonathan experience. The first time you did one actual on a commercial with your dad. After seeing your dad on a commercial for years, like, man, it this really happening.
All right, I got a commercial I'm gonna share with you after this, and you can post it up there, and then I'm gonna post my most recent TikTok, and you can see how much I've grown in probably the past 3 or 4 years. I got on my first commercial about, I think, 2022, so that's about 4 years ago. And when I look back on that, I'm like, what were you doing, Jonathan? But the first commercial I did, it was I was all stuck up, and I was not loose. I wasn't comfortable. And now I've taken years of filming, and I've taken coaching classes in terms of how to talk on TV and all that kind of stuff. And you could see a literal transition and a little growth the past 4 years. But it's been a great experience to be next to my dad in those commercials, because I mean, I recognize that I'm a lucky guy. I get to step into this business that my dad built from the ground up, and not only that, but I can start out so much farther ahead because I have him next to me. I have his brand to elevate me and my personal brand. So, I mean, everyone always says, "Man, you're lucky," and I am. I recognize that, and but hey, I was dealt a good hand of cards, and I'm playing them.
And so, as of today, how many years have you actually been a lawyer?
So I graduated in 2017. So we're going on 9 years in August. That'd be 9 years.
So 9 years of this. What do you enjoy most about it, and actually, what do you dislike about it?
Got you. Okay. So what I love about it, I'd say when I entered the practice, my dad started me at the reception. He started me at the ground. When I graduated law school, I was answering phone calls, started from the bottom, right? And it wasn't because I had to earn my way up, but it was because he wanted me to learn all of the systems, all the processes, everything throughout the office, so I understood everything. And now looking back on it, that was brilliant. Question?
The question is actually, but what do you enjoy about
enjoy and not enjoy? Right. I'm sorry. Yes. So when I started the practice, I started at the bottom and I learned everything, and then I started actually practicing law, handling cases, going to court, handling motions, everything that a lawyer typically does in a personal injury practice. And I love that part. I loved handling the clients. I loved handling the cases. I love the strategizing, the chess game that we play against the opponents, the insurance companies. I love that part of it. And then over the past 2 years is when I really put more of my time into management versus case handling. And as of the past about 8 months, I'm 100% management. I have 0 cases. So that's all I do is day-to-day operations. And that is what I absolutely love, is the ability to manage the entire thing. And not just because it's higher level thing, but it's because I get to touch so many different aspects of the business. I get to meet more clients, I get to affect more cases, and I get to do it at a higher level where I'm not, actually negotiating with the insurance company. I'm doing the higher level stuff, and I'm able to move the needle more because of that. And so that's the part I love more than I could have ever imagined. I've told my dad this probably once a month, is I am where I belong, hands down. And I can say that authentically and genuinely because I mean it. And, obviously people are probably out there thinking, well, is he just doing this because dad told him to do it, or it's an easy in, or whatever. And, there may have been some intentions, but I can tell you I am exactly where I belong. And I know that I'm going to be successful going forward. And my goal is to double the size of the firm, right? It's not just to ride dad's coattails. It's not to just say, this is what my dad built and look, I'm managing it. No, I want to make this place better. And so we're already in that trajectory. And so it's, I just, that part, I love it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The part I don't like.
I don't know if you dislike anything.
The part I don't like, and it's a hard, but it's an easy question for me. I am very much a positive person. I love bringing good news to people. And so the part that I hate most about my job is when I can't help somebody. When I legitimately can't, and I want to, and someone got hit as a pedestrian, and the person that hit him ran, and there's no insurance, and they have a broken leg, and I'm sitting across from him, and I have to give them the bad news. That sucks. And it's not their reaction that I hate, it's the fact that I can't do anything about it, and I genuinely want to, but there's just nothing I can do. And I think most clients see that I tried, that I really care, but sometimes there's just nothing that can be done, right? And that is the part that just keeps me up at night. That's the part that I just genuinely cannot stand, because again, my dad has raised me to be a giver, has raised me to be a person that cares and genuinely cares, not just does it for money. And that is, when I can't do that, it's like a piece of my brain just shuts off, because it's, I'm serving my purpose is to help people. And if I can't do that, that sticks a nook in my craw for sure.
Gotcha. So, what's your advice to someone watching this interview who probably has the same situation as you, who father wants them to come in, and like take over the family business, and like they probably like, I want to start my own, just have thoughts of like, hey, but why?
Got you. How long you got? Just kidding. So first, I would ask the person why they want to join the family business, what their purpose is in that realm, right? If they're doing it because to satisfy their parents, or they're doing it because they genuinely want to do it. And the problem with that question is sometimes people don't know the answer, right? Or they convince themselves, oh, I'm doing it because I want to, but in deep down, you're doing it because your parents want you to, or whatever. Pressure. But I would say, in my experience, I was on the fence and I jumped in. And I am so very glad that I did. And if you're young and you have the time, trying it, and if and if it doesn't, and if you don't like it, or if then you have the rest of your life, right? But I would say, if you have that opportunity to take over a family business, probably should seriously consider it, but don't do it with bad intention. Don't do it because, really look at your intentions. And this is where I'm going with this, is if you're doing it because your parents want you to do it, because your family's pressuring you, you're probably not going to be as successful because you don't care as much. What happens when your parents die? Does that mean that you're just going to let the business die too? Because now they're gone and your purpose, which was pleasing them, is gone. So what is your purpose? Are you there to genuinely make the business better? And so when I found that my purpose was to 2x the business and double the revenue, I knew And I came up with a plan, and I know that if Chip were to leave this earth tomorrow, that this firm is in good hands, that I'm going to take it into the stratosphere. I'm going to reach my goal, right? And and so what it comes down to again is just purpose, and what, I guess, your intentions, right? If you want to join it for the right reasons, then do it. And you might be wrong. You might join it with the right intentions and figure out it's not right for you. My coach told me something the other day that really sticks with me. Just because you have a bad outcome doesn't mean you have a bad decision. And just because you have a good outcome doesn't mean you have a good decision. Right? So if you have the intentions of going into the practice or the business or whatever, and it doesn't turn out, that's okay. And that's why I said earlier, it's at least worth trying, because even if you're not sure, right? You don't know if you want to join the business because your parents' influences or whatever, or if you genuinely want to, try it, give it some time, and if not, But for me, that's where I was. I wanted to, but deep down, I couldn't tell if it was because my dad had pressured me my entire life or because I genuinely wanted to do it. And I genuinely did, but he had been pressuring me, so I couldn't articulate what I really wanted. But as I got along, I started to realize, and it was obvious. The writing was on the wall that this was where I belong. And so you kind of just have that feeling going throughout. So
Gotcha. So, do you have any siblings?
I have two siblings. I have two older siblings. So I'm the youngest of three, and so my sister was a paralegal here. I think she left around COVID, and so she was an attorney. I'm the only attorney of the family, only attorney of my siblings. But my sister, she was here for about 10 years and then got tired, burnt out. So she found out that her purpose was not here. She spent 10 years here, and then she went out to California to serve mentally challenged adults and to help them. That was her purpose. She stayed here 10 years. It never got better. She just came in, punched a clock, handled the cases, left at 5. I'm not that way. Right, I live and breathe this business 24/7, but my sister didn't feel the same way, and that's okay. That's totally fine, and I'm glad that she went that way, because now, is she making as much money? No, but she's so much happier because she found her purpose over there. She was here to, just like me, help people, but she wanted to help those kind of people, and that's where she found her purpose. And so she was here for, like I said, for about 10 years. And then went out to California to spread her wings in that realm.
Gotcha.
And my brother, he's the middle. He's kind of the black sheep of the family. I'm not gonna get into that today, but he's doing a lot better. I'm so proud of him. He's got 2 daughters that my dad takes care of, and he's got a little job, and he's doing a lot better. I'm so very proud of him.
Gotcha. Yeah. So talk about carrying, the Forstall name.
Ooh.
Are you the only lawyer that actually have one podcast?
You mean the city?
I'm thinking I never saw another lawyer with a podcast.
So there's a couple of attorneys in New Orleans that have podcasts.
Okay.
None like mine.
I haven't seen you. That's
none
why.
Like mine.
That's why I was saying
you're
the only one I saw. So that's why I was giving your props.
Absolutely,
so
I appreciate that.
So how did you came up with that idea, and actually, what's your plan? With your podcast?
Gotcha. So my podcast, if y'all don't know, it's called From NOLA with the Forstalls, where I have 2 different segments within that podcast. One is Local Legends, where I talk with exactly that, people from New Orleans or the state that have made an impact in the community, entrepreneurs, business leaders, musicians, artists, anybody that that has made that kind of impact. I get with them, kind of talk to them, kind of like you do, right? And just ask them about, how they got to where they are. And so that's one segment. The second segment is Chats with Chip, where I sit down with my dad, talk about business, about car accidents, about life, fatherhood, leadership, all kind of stuff. Because my dad's got I mean, if you go talk to him for 5 minutes, he's going to drop some kind of wisdom on you. I guarantee it. And so I said, let's make that a podcast, right? Let's put that on the stream. But the whole vision was born about a year and a couple months ago when I was sitting down with my coach up in Atlanta, and I said, man, I really want to start a podcast, but I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, because the law to me is interesting, but if I talk about the law once a week for 30 minutes or however long, nobody wants to listen to that, right? I mean, what am I going to talk about? Car accidents and law and like, no. And my coach looks at me and says, don't make it about the law. Oh, click. And I went to the drawing board. I said, okay, now the options are endless, right? Because I don't make it about the law. So went back to the drawing board and I said, what can I do? What kind of angle? And I said, let's start with Chip. He built this firm, right, on goodwill, on his commercials, right? That jingle, everybody knows that Chip Forstall jingle. Creating an incredible workspace, workplace culture, all the things that he did to build this firm, right? So that is something that I can share with the rest of the world. It doesn't have to be about law; it can be about anything. So that Chats with Chip was born, and I said, okay. Chip had this idea back in the 90s of a jingle where he created the commercial. Everyone's seen it, right? And what did that mean to people? What did that mean to the New Orleans community? It meant that Chip was involved with the community. It means he cared. It means he gave back. It means he spent the money to produce the commercial, to elevate these artists, to give them a platform to showcase their talent, and to hopefully have some good benefits from that commercial. And so I took that core value and I said, okay, let me take that and put a 2026, 2025 spin on it, and let's make a podcast. And so I started writing down ideas, and eventually From NOLA with the Forstalls was born, where I kind of take, okay, Chip had the commercials where he was promoting their talent. Now let me get their story, right? Let me see how they got to where they are. Let me see, let me just talk to them. So it was kind of a pivot or a brainchild of Chip's jingle commercials that dated back 30 years ago, which helped build this practice that it is today. So it's my kind of take on the firm's connection to the New Orleans culture. And that's, again, we're still running jingle commercials. We're still, the podcast is doing great. So that was kind of where it came from. So I have those two segments where we have the local legends and where I sit down with my father, Chats with Chip. And those two, we drop one every week, switching between the two. And it's been great, and we've had a lot of good followers and people jumping on watching, and I've actually gotten a lot of good feedback from the Chats with Chip, which I thought it would be more local legends, but I've been getting a lot of good feedback because Chip's got some wisdom, and every podcast he might only have one or two little real good stuff, but man, it's good, and so it's been working, and it's just again, it's my take on the connection for the firm to the New Orleans culture.
Oh, hey, before we leave, hey, but what's next for Jonathan? And also, hey, but what's next for, the Forstall franchise? For sure. So we got a lot. Okay. So as I told you earlier, I got my caseload down to 0. Okay. So I can manage a lot of the day-to-day operations. In that comes my time and the ability to achieve my vision, right? And I've written a 10, 5, 3, and 1 year plan out. So I have all of this written down. I have all of it planned, and we're going to get there. But I will share some things that we got cooking for this next year. Right now, we are working on a school outreach program. So what I did was my coach said, y'all need to get a little more involved with the community in terms of just boots on the ground, actual impact, not just musicians and artists and podcasts, but actual, schools and people, right?
I said, okay. So I couldn't think of anything, so I developed what I call as a community team in our firm where I got about 6 or 7 people from our staff who wanted to be involved with giving back to the community. We all sat in a room for about an hour and a half. We started spitballing ideas, and all of a sudden, what came from that was a program that we're going to call Raise the Bar NOLA. And what that is a school outreach program where we're partnered with a school for an entire school year, and we help them put on events. We help them if they need, jerseys for their sports teams. If they need funding for books or whatever else, we choose a school every year that we partner with to give back and to somehow help. So that is what's cooking for this year. We got some great commercials I'm going to be filming pretty soon. We're making an intentional kind of change with our marketing in that we're filming more videos, less commercials, more YouTube, TikToks, and stuff like that for socials. If you're not on our socials, go check it out. We're posting pretty much every day, and most of the TikToks are pretty good. I don't like doing all of them, but they end up being pretty good. So we're kind of adapting with the times with marketing, and then another exciting thing is AI is making a entry into the legal space, and I am 100% on the forefront of that. Probably, in terms of most other attorneys around, I'm probably one of the, I don't know, more advanced in the community in terms of AI. I've taken classes. I've done all, gotten myself educated in that realm, and it's exciting to see how it's going to affect the legal community, and I think that will help elevate us in this time of transition as well. So that's all. That's what I have coming in probably the near future. 2029, 2030, thinking about a Chip Forstall concert. That's one of my.
But why not just a whole festival?
That too. We could do that too. Concert.
Why think small? Huh?
No, you're right. You're right. The concert was an easier bite, but and I got my buddy Cleveland who's got Fried Chicken Fest, and
Cleveland Spirit, shout out.
Yeah, Cleveland Spirit, my boy. He does a Fried Chicken Fest. We're a big part of that. Maybe I'd get him to do Chip Forstall stage. Start,
Gotcha.
do a little baby step. But we got a lot of good things. I tell you, if you come talk to me for more than 10 minutes, you can probably hear that I have so many ideas. I'm very ambitious. I'm very hungry. I have, anybody that knows me knows I'm intense, knows I go at 120 miles an hour. But luckily I have a fantastic team here at our firm to kind of keep up with me. Because sometimes I go so fast and so intense that, I need some help kind of picking up the slack. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
And also, last but not least, tell the world, what can they find you at on social media, and also find maybe your office.
Oh, good. I got you. So start with the office. That's easiest. We're right in Mid City. We got one office. A lot of law firms you see around are going to have multiple offices throughout the state. If you come to our firm, we pride ourselves that we are not a Louisiana firm. We are a New Orleans firm. Our office is in Mid City, around the corner of Carrollton and Bienville. We've been here for 30 years, and we're not going anywhere. So check us out. And on socials, we're everywhere. I got my personal socials is just my first and last name, Instagram, Facebook. I don't post as much as I should because I'm posting a lot on my podcast and the firm. But that's what you should go check out. If I would start with the TikToks, Chip Forstall, go to TikTok, look up Chip Forstall. Got some pretty good TikTok. A couple of them went viral. So that's you'll get a kick. I promise you'll get a chuckle. And then our Instagram and our Facebook, great resource places. And then the podcast. The podcast has its own TikToks, its own Instagram. So you can look at shorts if you don't have time to watch an entire episode. Just go to the podcast TikTok. You can grab a short. You can get the highlights. We've had some really good guests on there, and then obviously Chip also is he's dropping his wisdom, so you can scroll through those and see what tidbits he has to share, and I promise you'll get something out of it. So yeah, Firm podcast and my personal, and might one day start a fitness one because I'm very much into fitness. So probably should have said that earlier. Yeah. So
Hey, but all right.
All right.
We done.
Awesome.
I appreciate you.